Welcome to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, bringing baby boomers proven strategies and innovative products for getting fit, staying fit, so you can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Here's your host, best-selling author and fitness advocate, Phil Ferris.
This is Phil Ferris, and welcome to our show. Never Too Late for Fitness Radio provides answers and straight talk about fitness, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles for people over 50. Our goal is to educate and advocate health and fitness strategies that help you to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. If you're over 50 and feel like age is starting to catch up with you, but you're not ready to hang it up, this episode's for you. If your workouts are not working out, you will discover why in this episode. My guest today is Jeff Powell, who has over 30 years training people and over 13 years helping people recover from pain and injuries faster. He is founder of Age Proof, unique fitness strategies for 50 plus, which is a place for people who value longevity. It's for people who may have been told it's time to pack it up, but who know and believe that there's more in the tank. These are the people that are still committed to winning the game of life. So thanks, Jeff, for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Phil. I'm excited to be here.
Well, Jeff, let's start with your current personal training business. Can you describe your business and the people that you train?
Okay, so in the gym, I have an office, and I actually do a lot of functional therapy in the office. So I help people transition from pain or dysfunction into movement and then into some kind of, programming. I like to say I try and find the little things that give the big leverage. I like to give my people time back as opposed to piling up programs for them. And so I'm looking to help people get that leverage in their lives. And so a lot of those people transition out onto the gym floor, and we end up doing work out there. Mainly, the folks are there to get more out of their life.
You tend to work with people, especially online, that are over 50. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
So why did you select that population?
So over, the years and decades, I've helped people all different ages. But what I found pretty early on, I wanted to work with, I used to think I wanted to work with elite athletes. I wanted to work with the top shelf performers. And what I found over time was many of the people in those situations just want to do enough to keep their job, or just want to do enough to beat the other person. But what I found was that people who had, in a sense, lost something, they lost a step, or they lost a freedom, or they were looking at that slippery slope to a wheelchair or an early death. Those people were wanting and willing to fight for it. And I realized those are the people I want to work with.
Can you give me an example of some of the challenges that they presented to you when they first came in?
That's actually what kind of, got me into that direction was I found out, training people very early on that everybody walked in with some problem. They always had something that we'd have to work around. And I got tired of working around, and I started wanting to work through. And so, one of the most common things that people walk in with is some history of back pain or back dysfunction. Often people have like an old ankle sprain that's causing, they're manifesting as like knee pain or something like that. But it actually is, it's attached to something else in their past. And so, what I tend to do is to, find out, what's the source of these different problems, like shoulder pain, neck pain, whatever. And once I can find the source, I call that their linchpin issue. And then we just go to work on that linchpin issue, and they start to see, more freedom of movement show up, more strength, even without, necessarily lifting a weight to develop strength. They will actually demonstrate greater strength by addressing those linchpin issues.
Can you give me a specific example of a member who may have came in and the kind of specific problem they had, how you work with them, and the kind of results they got?
Absolutely. So I have a client that I work with who history of low back pain, low back injury, came in. He wasn't feeling the pain at that point, but he was feeling stiff. He was feeling like he wasn't moving right. We kind of zeroed in on a toe touch test for him. And what we found was he was very restricted in his ability to bend forward to reach for his toes, as a lot of people are. And so what I did was I did what's called opener for his lumbar spine, which all that means is it's a way to relieve pressure on the nerve roots. And just by relieving that pressure on the nerve roots, he went from, reaching forward to mid-shin, to ankles, to feet, to almost palms on the ground. And we never touched his hamstrings. We never stretched him. It was just offloading that nerve pressure. And so that's what I mean about, looking for those little things that create big leverage. Because if we tried to stretch him, he would just tighten up again. But if we can find the source of that tension, the reason that his body was wanting to feel tense, then we can go to work on it. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, that's exactly it. For years, I had knee pain, and I kept on going to orthopedic surgeons, and they kept on giving me therapy, physical therapy for the knee. I finally went to a chiropractor who did applied kinesiology, and he found it had to do with my back. So I fixed my back, and the pain went away. And so after spending 2 years of fighting through and not doing surgery, in a couple of sessions, he corrected the problem, and he said, it's those supporting muscles are not firing, and so now they are. And then strengthen them, and the knee pain went away. And it was like, oh, my back caused my knee. So it's the connection of the body.
Yes.
That most people don't understand.
Actually, it just made me I just had somebody come in with shoulder pain, and they had really common anterior shoulder pain, and everybody was trying to treat them for bicep tendonitis, which is just pain in the front of your shoulder. We started looking, and it was the same thing. We found out we needed to do an opener for the nerve roots in her neck, and when we did that, almost immediately the pain went away. Now, it came back. We had to follow a program offloading those nerves and then strengthening the muscles, because whenever we have pain, the muscles get very weak. And so we always have to restore that strength. In the end, it's regaining that strength, though. So there always has to be a regaining of strength to conquer the problem. You can make it feel better with lots of these, ice and all these other things, but to really conquer the problem, you have to get to the point of where you can work on the strength and develop the strength.
Over 50 population, besides they're older and they may have some pain and problems to work around, what are some of the other challenges they present that you have to help them overcome?
Belief. Their belief system. So, people as they get older and I'm getting older too, right? So there's just this notion that as you get older, you get broker, like you just, the pieces you start having more duct tape pile up and the pieces are just kind of stuck together, and it doesn't seem like things work right. But the real problem is that people are trying to do the same things they did when everything was working right to keep moving forward, and it just doesn't work that way. So I have to help people shift, one, their belief that they actually have tremendous capability in their bodies. Everybody does have a huge potential for displaying strength and capacity. No matter how sickly or feeble somebody feels they are, they actually have a tremendous potential. But tapping into that potential is another thing. Helping people see that they have more potential. And so I usually do some things to just help them realize that there's more there than what they thought. Once I get them, able to understand that, then, sometimes we do have to reframe what training means. Because if somebody just wants to go back to doing what they were doing before didn't really solve the problem, right? So sometimes we have to kind of reframe that and look at, what do you want out of your training? And then when we start doing the right things, we start getting the right result.
Can you give an example of an individual that came in that perhaps had the wrong mindset, expectation, and how you reframed it so they do the right things?
It's almost everybody. Because AG, they're like, they come in with this. The most positive version of this is they come in and they're like, I really want this to work. It really hasn't been working. I'm just hoping. They're kind of throwing their hands up. I'm just hoping, I heard about you and I'm just hoping that you can do something for me. Right. So for instance, the guy with the tightness, he'd always had tightness. He thought that was just a part of living, and he'd stretch and he'd tighten up and he'd stretch and he'd tighten up. But as soon as we were able to find the right trigger, immediately his body, his system changed. It's like his system said, yes, you can have it now. There it is, and you can take it. I can go down the list though in terms of belief. I love the people who are very, very critical, who just, they're not going to believe it until it happens. I love those people because I can help them mentally kind of connect with why there might be something there. But as soon as I have them start doing something that addresses that linchpin issue and they start getting more freedom of motion, and we didn't put ice on them, we didn't inject them, most of the time we don't even touch the spot where they're experiencing their discomfort or pain. As soon as we get that happening, then all of a sudden the eyes open and they start, and I see, the key word here, Phil, I think is hope. I see this little bit of hope. It's latching onto that hope. Let's add a little bit more fuel to that fire. And once we can get that hope, then people will do the work, right? You're not going to do the work if you can't really see the result. I'm kind of under the gun, man. I gotta help people see something right away. Otherwise, that belief is so profound. It's so culturally ingrained, right? Older people are feeble. Older people, they're not as strong. They're not as capable. The reality is, if you do the math and the science, a lot of the structure and the capacity is there. So then the question is, how do I get to it? And so that's what I do.
There's a lot of people that when I've worked at in the gym, they'll come in and they say, well, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to do that. And I want to go back. And this was a routine I had. I said, how long ago was that? 15, 20 years ago? What's your fitness level compared to then? Well, no, I was in great shape back then. When we get you to that level again, then you can go do those things.
Yeah. If you're coming to me because you want to crawl back in your comfort zone, probably not going to be super fun, But if you want freedom to do stuff, and you're willing to look at it in a different way, then we can talk. Yeah, I get what you're saying. The folks that had their old routine and they just want to go back to the days of yore. It's like, no, I want a better day. I want to show you something better than that.
Okay. Now you've developed a 4-phase approach that kind of brings people from injury to recovery and beyond, as well as a tool that you use, high intensity corrective exercise, which gives them one of the biggest gifts, which is called time. Let's spend less time in the gym and get more results. Yeah. So can you describe your approach and how you use those tools to help people get results faster?
So, honestly, the 4-phase thing, I didn't really come up with that. I expanded on it. It's really just how people recover from pain or injury, right? There's an acute phase. That's when it hurts. That's when you're restricted. That's when you got problems. And most therapies address the acute phase and they get you into what's called the critical phase. I didn't know there was such a thing as a critical phase, Phil. I was like, I was always just get out of pain and go back to training, right? Over time and with the wrong injury, it just doesn't work that way. So the critical phase is when we're no longer in pain, but we're still very dysfunctional and we're still very prone to re-injury or having pain again. And so quite often when I encounter people, they're kind of dancing on the cusp. They're in the critical phase a little bit, then they're back in the acute phase, and critical phase and acute phase, right? They're kind of in and out. What I do is instead of just trying to get them out of the acute phase, I push through that into what's called a functional phase, which means that they're capable of handling basic life circumstances. Their body can soak up what the world wants to dish out for them. Then there's folks who I'm guessing are people like you, who I would call specialization. They need another layer to that because they like to go out and maybe, try something new. They want to go and pick up something they hadn't been able to do before. Now they have this new hope, this new path. And so they want to go beyond. And so I call that like a specialization or performance phase. That's where we really got the foundation built. But now we go down one specific path to really enhance their capacity in a certain way, golf, running, hiking, things like this that demand more than just your average capability, have a higher level demand. And so those are the 4 phases: that acute to critical to functional, and then on to either specialization or performance.
And what can you tell us about the high intensity corrective exercises?
Once I realized that people had these problems, I tried to find a solution. And the solution at the time was called corrective exercise. Corrective exercise is meant to create, in essence, a higher level of harmony in how the muscles control a joint. So it's really kind of magical, because even with a compromised joint, corrective exercise can help you start to get some function back and actually help you get out of pain. But if you remember, I said that kind of gets you to that phase, that critical phase. It doesn't really push you all the way through to the functional phase. So what I found was there was this dance of having to do these correctives and then doing fitness work and then doing strength work. And so there's just tremendous volume of stuff that people had to do just to be able to get a little bit of work, right? They had to do all these correctives just to be able to get a little bit of work. And I just thought there had to be a different way. What I locked into was using very select grouping and progression of corrective exercises that lent themselves to me being able to help people generate higher intensity so they could also get fitness results. So it was a one-stop shop. You're doing a corrective exercise that creates enough demand so you get fitness, strength, or performance results.
What would be an example of an exercise that would meet that criteria?
Kind of talk you through this. So I like to use this one just kind of for demonstration, because it is really safe and people can kind of connect with it. So I'll have somebody do like a bridge on a stability ball. You know what I'm talking about? Like you sit on the ball and you walk forward and lay back, and you got your shoulders on the ball and your feet are out there, and you drop your hips down and then you push your hips up. Right? Okay. And that's considered a core exercise. But the reality is most people, when they do it, they get a little bit in their glutes and hamstrings, but they'll get it in their back, right? They'll feel the pressure in their back. And that's not really what we're trying to target. So just adjust the person's position a little bit. Now we can really target the hips and the hamstrings. So we can target the muscles that are really going to help them to move better and feel better. So that's kind of the setup, right? So now we got this good position, a very safe, very functional, very capable position. For this one, then what I have them do is I say, I want you with your shoulders, not with your head, I want you to try and pop the ball. Yeah, you're like, what? Like, and you're going to go try it too. So what's going to happen is, so you got to tuck your tail under before you bridge up. So you don't want your back arched at all. You got to roll your tailbone under. You push your hips up as high as you can until you start to feel that low back give way just a little bit. You don't want to go any higher than that. Okay. And you practice that a couple of times. You roll the tail under first, you push the hips way up, you get that really good position. And then once you get in that position, then you tell yourself, I'm going to pop this ball. Then what happens is you figure out how to get pressure into that ball. And when you do that, the intensity goes through the roof. And you're going to notice that I need to take a breath. You're going to realize, oh my gosh, my lungs are working. So I'll have people do this, and a lot of times within like 2 or 3 reps, they're already sweating. And they're like, what in the world just happened? And so that's a skill, right? Recruiting muscles is a skill. What I'm trying to do is help them learn this skill, how to apply this skill in a very safe position. And then we can do repetitions. And what most people do is they just kind of they're banging out reps. But if you're going up there, you're getting your hips up, you're getting in the right spot, and then you're doing your best to pop that ball, you're going to gas out pretty quick. It's a very high intensity exercise. It's very corrective in nature for, you could call it for lumbar or core stability. I like to say what I'm trying to do is tie the upper body and the lower body together through the middle, because it's a harmony of the little muscles that control the joints and the big muscles that move the joints. That harmony is what gives us function. And then if we can take that harmony and we can pump intensity into it, now we're getting fit, and we're getting fit in a very, very capable, durable way.
As soon as we're done, I'm going to be down in the basement.
I want to do some now. I'm excited. I want to go.
That's right.
So that's one example. There's I have ones that I use for different movement patterns. patterns and different needs client.
Okay, that's again the idea of function and in intensity. Now I get that you're recruiting more muscles for a specific function.
We lose those high threshold fibers. As we age, we lose them. And historically, the only way to really tap into them is to either sprint, kind of dangerous, or load up heavier weight, kind of dangerous. What I did was I figured out a way to recruit those really high threshold fibers. And at the time, I was just trying to do it so that it was safe. And what I realized as I was doing it was I was actually making people more and more safe because they were getting this high intensity in this optimum position so that they could actually go out and do more things. To me, training is not about what I do with you in the gym or through the internet. Training is when you go out and do stuff, do you feel better? Do you perform better? Do you last longer? If I have to be there, it's not training.
That makes a lot of sense. And that kind of leads into my next question is that with the pandemic, fitness is upside down for both trainers and businesses and people trying to, where do I go to get fit? I have to go to my basement. And if I want training, you have to do it virtually. You recently took your business virtually because the other party was closed down to you. What are the advantages to training virtually?
I didn't know at the time. I always liked the idea of being online, and I had done work with people, either through text or through some video and stuff like that, just to support clients who were out there. But when I saw this thing coming, I was like, okay, I got to start getting ready. And so I did a couple of things. One was made sure I had all systems go, like I was signed up for Zoom, and I had a video cache so that I could distribute, exercises. But then I also sought out people who knew a lot about training online. And so this is where I have to tip my hat to the Online Traders Federation. You know them, So when I got into that, there was something the guy who runs it, this guy Dave Smith, said about the value of online training versus in person. And what he said was, I won't be able to say it verbatim, but the gist was, when I'm meeting somebody in their home, on their turf, in their environment, I can affect much more positive change than I ever could having them stop by and see me in the gym. And that struck me, and I really started thinking about it. And as I started working with people, I realized how convenient it was for them and how freeing and how empowering and how I was helping them. Everybody's got stuff in their house, right?
Yeah.
But, to work out, but nobody uses it. They don't have a way, they're not able to dedicate a space or whatever, but I can really meet people where they're at, and I can help them gain leverage, not just in their fitness, but in their life. And that has held true. The more I've done this, the more excited I am to do more online. I love my in-person people. I do manual testing. You talked about the applied kinesiology and stuff. I do a muscle testing. It's called functional neurology, what I do. So I can't do that online. So I'm going to enjoy doing that when I can get back in the gym. But this online world, man, is just, it's something special. That ability to meet people where they're at and help them take steps forward in their place of living just has like a whole nother level of power.
On the other side of the coin, because it is so new, there's a lot of misconceptions about what virtual training is all about. What are some of the most common misconceptions that people may have?
So you're just going to send me workouts?
Okay.
No. I think the misconception is they just haven't done it. It's tough to imagine the value of something until you get a little chance to experience it, right? For people who haven't done virtual training, I think it's, they're thinking of, I need that person right there with me, changing the weights and adjusting the pins and stuff like that. And that's all very convenient, and that does have value. The value of having somebody, meet you in your space and work you through stuff and communicate, because in online world, you have to communicate in somebody else's language. You can't prop them and turn them and stuff like that. So in that process, I think there is a greater opportunity to help people learn how to use their bodies better. I think there's a better opportunity to help people, one, take it on truly as a habit, truly as a lifestyle, and two, to connect better with their bodies, which is what, that's what's going to serve them long term. Being tuned in, having that tuned in understanding of their bodies, how their body works and what their body needs is what's going to really sustain them.
If someone were looking for a virtual trainer, what are some specific guidelines? Because most people are having to order food online, buy cars online, do all these things that they've never done online. Now we have to get a virtual trainer. So what are some specific guidelines you can give that will make sure that people get a trainer that's right for them?
I honestly don't know of any online shopping for personal trainers. I'd say go, if you don't have somebody in mind, or you don't have, a particular pursuit in mind, the best thing I'd say is, reach out to the Online Trainers Federation. They got hundreds of people to choose from that are getting the best training that I see out there in the industry for online training. So to me, that would be the source. If you're looking for, you're looking for something other than what I do. If you're looking for what I do, Phil, we know where to go, right?
Yeah. The key here is that if you don't know of someone offhand, then you're going to have to do some research. A good place to go that has a wide variety of trainers and a reputation of training them effectively is the Federation. I want to talk a little bit about your background, because you started your fitness journey at a kind of young age of 19 with an injury, and that kind of propelled you in a specific direction that led you to here. So if you tell us, kind of the Cliff Notes version of how you got from an injured 19-year-old to where you are now.
Well, I will back up just real quick. My dad was a PE coach.
Oh, okay.
So I've been exposed, and I loved Rocky when I was a little kid. So I've been exposed to training. And even before that, my brother had shown me the Incredible Hulk show and told me that stuff was real. So, so I had a perfect delusion. So when I was 19, I was delivering TVs and furniture, and most of delivering TVs and furniture is sitting in the truck. And I remember getting out of the truck one day, and my back, I was not going to be able to help the other guy. He had to move a fridge by himself that day. I could not move. I went to a very renowned physical therapist in the area. Through assessment, he went through and told me, okay, so you're not going to be able to lift anymore. You're not going to be able to compete anymore. Don't bend forward. Squat down just with your knees. Keep your torso upright. And here's these exercises to do. Well, the one thing that he told me that helped was the exercises. The exercises did help me gain some freedom. But once I got freedom, Phil, you know what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm going to go do stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to lift some heavy stuff.
I'm going to go do stuff. Well, I was very scared because of what he had said. I thought, maybe I am done. But I was also a little kid. We were at a campground, and my dad gave me an axe, and I spent the next day chopping through a log. Very persistent. So I went to work. I knew that there was this human potential that I could tap into, and I knew that there were smart people and there were smart strategies, and I felt like I could figure it out. I did. At one point I was deadlifting, near 2.5 times my body weight barefoot, competed at world class multiple times. I've competed as a masters athlete. I've competed in the adult division. So that's old guy competing against the young guys. And I've, silver medaled and done well in these international competitions. I've been able to do things so that proved it to me. Then the next step was just being able to prove it to my clients. And so I've been doing that for a good 20 years now.
Very good. Taking the lessons learned and applying them and paying them forward to other people's. They say that experience is the best teacher, but the tuition is prohibitive. So you want to find someone else that has been there and show you how to avoid falling in the same potholes that you've been in. There's still a lot of 50-year-old plus people out there that are kind of stuck, maybe frustrated with their fitness programs. People may be telling them to give it up and just hit the recliner, but they know there's more there, but they just don't know how to get at it. So what advice would you give that 50-year-old that wants to do more but doesn't know how to get there?
I'm going to speak to that person that's telling them to sit down first. That I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm pretty smart. I'm not the most experienced at helping people rehabilitate, but I've got a lot of experience. If somebody is telling somebody to sit down and pack it up, like that just that boils my blood, Phil, because that is the slippery slope right to wheelchair or grave. Our muscles are the number one thing that provides stimulus for our brain. When we stop firing those muscles, the brain begins to degenerate. The brain degenerates, the organs degenerate. It is literally the slippery slope to an early grave. First and foremost, move. Pain-free movement, whatever movement is possible to perform pain-free, do that. And then if you feel really stuck, seek some help. Seek out somebody who works with people who are aging or people who are injured, and not that, not somebody that to tell you what you can't do, but somebody who's going to help you figure out what you can do, because we got to keep moving, Phil. We got to keep firing our muscles. We got to keep firing our brain. Even people who are quadriplegic, we still have to do things to fire their muscles. We still have to do things to keep their brain going, to keep them healthy. I think that's just a truth in life. We got to keep the muscles are the fountain of youth.
Absolutely. I think the concept of never too late for fitness, there are people that have started in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They're going on to do amazing things.
Yeah.
And sometimes those amazing things are to be able to play with your grandkids, or to play one-on-one with your nephews and cousins. Being able to do the things you want to do as long as you want to do them.
Right.
And it takes movement. And it takes some effort.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff, if people want to learn more about Age Proof or contact you, where should they go?
I have a group on Facebook. I call it Age Proof. Pretty simple search will show it up. But if you do facebook.com/ageproof, it should pop up as a selection. I do have my therapy page is also on Facebook. It is a therapy page, but I do training through there too. And that's facebook.com/recoverfast.
Age Proof and Recover Fast. Look him up. He's got some great stuff out there. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for sharing your journey and your insights into what us people over 50 can do to keep moving and to bulletproof our bodies going forward. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Phil. It's been a blast, man. I appreciate it.
All right, take care, buddy.
You've been listening to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, hosted by Phil Ferris. To learn more about the guests or resources on our show today, or to listen to past episodes, go to nevertoolateforfitness.com.